2,400 years ago, a Greek philosopher described a civilization nobody had ever heard of. He gave it rings of water, walls faced in metal, 1,200 ships, and 10 kings. Then he sank it in a single day and night and left the story unfinished. Ever since, people have searched for it in the Atlantic, the Mediterranean, the Sahara, and under the ice. Some of the places they found are real, and some of them really did drown. This is everything we actually know about Atlantis. All of it comes from one source, so it is worth being precise about what that source is. Atlantis appears in two texts by the Athenian philosopher Plato, written around 360 BC. They are called Timaeus and Critias. No Greek writer before him mentions the place anywhere, not one. Herodotus collected every strange story he could find, and Atlantis is not in it. But Plato does not present it as his own invention either. He presents it as inherited history. He says it came from Solon, the Athenian lawmaker, who heard it from priests in Egypt. Solon was real, and he really did travel to Egypt around 590 BC. So the chain, as Plato gives it, runs Egypt to Solon, to family memory, to him. 9,000 years before Solon, the priests said there was an island beyond the pillars of Heracles. That is the Strait of Gibraltar, the edge of the known world. The island was larger than Libya and Turkey combined. Its kings ruled other islands and part of the continent beyond them. And the description of the capital is where the legend really comes from. It was built in rings, alternating land and water. 3 rings of water, 2 of land. A canal cut straight through all of them, joining the center to the open sea. Bridges crossed the rings, and tunnels were cut so that ships could pass underneath. The outer wall was faced in bronze, the next in tin, and the innermost in orichalcum. Orichalcum was a red metal that Plato says flashed like fire, and nobody is certain what it was. At the center stood a temple to Poseidon, plated in silver and gold, roofed in ivory. Around it were hot and cold springs, bathhouses, racecourses, and gardens. Behind the city lay a rectangular plain, irrigated by a grid of canals, giving 2 harvests a year. The navy numbered 1,200 ships. 10 kings ruled, all descended from Poseidon and a mortal woman named Cleito. Every few years they gathered, hunted a sacred bull without weapons, and swore their oaths over it. For generations they governed well, because the divine part of their nature was still strong. Then it thinned out, and ordinary human greed took its place. They turned aggressive and set out to conquer the entire Mediterranean. The power that stopped them, Plato says, was ancient Athens, fighting alone. Then came earthquakes and floods of extraordinary violence. In a single day and a single night, Atlantis went under the sea. And there, the text stops. Critias breaks off in the middle of a sentence. Plato never finished it. The last line is Zeus calling the gods together to decide a punishment. That unfinished ending is a large part of why the story never died. So what does the evidence actually support? Start with the date. 9,000 years before Solon puts it around 9,600 BC. That is the end of the last ice age. At that point, there is no bronze anywhere on Earth, no writing, and no cities of that kind. Farming itself is only just getting started in the Middle East. A naval empire with metal walls is thousands of years too early. Then, the size. Larger than Libya and Turkey combined means something on the scale of a continent. The floor of the Atlantic has since been mapped in detail, by sonar and by satellite. There is no sunken landmass out there. There is a mid-ocean ridge, and it is being pushed upward, and there is no archaeology, no wreck, no wall, no pot, no inscription. 24 centuries of searching have produced nothing that survives inspection, and yet parts of the story match real events almost exactly, because the sea really does take cities, and several of the ones it took look uncomfortably like Plato's. These are the contenders. Start with the strongest, the island of Thera, now called Santorini. Around 1600 BC, it erupted with one of the largest blasts in human history. The center of the island collapsed into the sea and left a ring-shaped crater behind, a ring of land around a circle of water. That is the shape Plato describes. On Thera, the town of Akrotiri was buried in volcanic ash and preserved almost intact. Excavators found multi-story houses, indoor plumbing, drainage systems, and painted walls. The paintings show ships, harbors, and the thing the Minoans clearly cared about most: bulls. Young men and women are shown vaulting over the horns of charging bulls. Plato's 10 kings hunted a sacred bull before every council they held. The Minoan civilization on nearby Crete went into decline within a few generations of the eruption. An advanced sea power ring-shaped, wrecked by the sea, obsessed with bulls. The fit is remarkable, but it is not perfect. Thera is tiny next to Plato's island, and it is far too recent. 1600 BC, not 9600. One suggestion is that a number was mistranslated somewhere along the chain. If the Egyptian records counted in months rather than years, 9,000 becomes closer to 900. That is a guess, not a finding, but it is the guess that keeps Thera in first place. The second contender is much smaller, and it sits much closer to Plato himself. Helike was a wealthy Greek city on the Gulf of Corinth, dedicated to Poseidon. In 373 BC, an earthquake struck it in the middle of the night. The ground turned to liquid and a wave came in off the gulf. By morning, the entire city was underwater and it never came back. Sailors reported seeing a submerged bronze statue of Poseidon there for centuries afterwards. Plato was alive and living in Athens, about 80 miles away. When it happened, he wrote Atlantis within roughly a decade of that night. Helike is far too small to be the original. It is a city, not an empire, but it is almost certainly where the image of an overnight drowning came from. It was finally relocated in 2001, buried under an inland lagoon. The third contender is not a city at all. It is an entire country. Under the North Sea, between Britain and Denmark, lies drowned land called Doggerland. During the Ice Age, it was dry and it was good land. Rivers, marshes, forest, and hills. People lived there for thousands of years, hunting and fishing. As the glaciers melted, the sea rose and took it piece by piece. Then, around 6,200 BC, an underwater landslide off Norway sent a wave across it. Whatever was left of Doggerland disappeared. Fishing trawlers still drag up its flint tools, antler harpoons, and animal bones. The dates are closer to Plato's than anything else on this list manages. But there were no kings there, no fleets, no metal, just hunters and rising water. The fourth contender fits the geography better than any of them. Tartessos was a rich trading culture in southern Spain just beyond the Strait of Gibraltar. That is exactly where Plato puts Atlantis, beyond the Pillars of Heracles. It was famous for metals, especially silver, and it traded across the whole Mediterranean. And then, sometime around 500 BC, it vanishes from the record completely. Some researchers think it was drowned or silted over in the marshes of the Guadalquivir. Surveys of the Doñana wetlands have picked up buried circular structures under the mud. Nothing is confirmed, but of all the candidates, Tartessos is standing in the right doorway. After that, the list gets weak very quickly. The Rishat structure in Mauritania is a set of natural rings in the Sahara, popular online. It is a geological dome. It has never been under the ocean, and no city has been found in it. The Bimini Road in the Bahamas was announced as Atlantean pavement in 1968. Geologists identified it as beach rock, which naturally cracks into neat rectangles, and Antarctica gets proposed regularly, which would require the continent to have moved recently. It has not. Which leaves the answer most historians actually favor. Timaeus and Critias are a continuation of the Republic, Plato's book about the ideal state. Just before Atlantis appears, the characters ask to see that ideal state tested in a war. And immediately, they are handed a story where a perfect Athens defeats a corrupt sea empire. Atlantis is everything Plato thought a city should not be. Rich, expansionist, rotting quietly inside. Athens in his own lifetime had been exactly that, and it had just lost a catastrophic war. Aristotle studied under him for 20 years, and his verdict survives as a single line. Whoever invented Atlantis, he said, also destroyed it. So here's everything we know, put together in one place. One source, no earlier mention, no ruins, and a date that nothing on Earth can support. And at the same time, a real ring-shaped island that exploded, a real city that drowned in one night, a real country under the North Sea, and a real trading kingdom that went silent beyond Gibraltar. Plato may never have found Atlantis, but he was surrounded by the pieces of it. He built a perfect civilization, destroyed it in a single sentence, and then put down his pen. Everything since has been the rest of us trying to finish his paragraph. Subscribe for more history, explained one stick figure at a time. See you next time.